Imagine this. It's the middle of the night, 30,000 years ago. No cities. No houses. No locked doors. No police. No hospitals. Only darkness, and whatever was hiding inside it. A small group of humans sits around a dying fire, exhausted after another brutal day of survival. The flames are weak. The temperature is falling. Beyond the circle of light, the forest is completely silent. Then, a newborn baby begins to cry. Not because something is chasing it. Not because it's in danger. Simply because it's a baby. But the moment that tiny cry breaks the silence, every adult freezes. The hunters grip their spears. The mothers stop breathing. No one says a word. Because they all know the same terrifying truth. That tiny sound could kill every single person in the camp. The cry of a newborn could travel hundreds of meters through the cold night air, far enough for hungry wolves to hear it, far enough for giant hyenas to follow it, far enough for rival human tribes to discover exactly where they were hiding. One baby. One cry. One mistake. And by sunrise, an entire family could be gone. This wasn't fear. It was survival. Today, when a baby cries, parents worry about losing sleep. Back then, parents worried about losing everyone they loved. So here's the question history rarely asks. What did ancient humans actually do when a baby wouldn't stop crying? Did they already understand secrets of infant care thousands of years before science? Did entire tribes work together to keep newborns silent? Or were they forced to make horrifying choices that we've chosen to forget? Tonight, on Chronospecture History, we're uncovering the forgotten survival strategies of the world's first parents, and by the end of this story, you may never hear a crying baby the same way again. Let's go back to where the story of humanity almost ended with a single cry. Imagine this. It's the middle of the night, 30,000 years ago. No cities. No houses. No locked doors. No police. No hospitals. Only darkness, and whatever was hiding inside it. A small group of humans sits around a dying fire, exhausted after another brutal day of survival. The flames are weak. The temperature is falling. Beyond the circle of light, the forest is completely silent. Then, a newborn baby begins to cry. Not because something is chasing it. Not because it's in danger. Simply because it's a baby. But the moment that tiny cry breaks the silence, every adult freezes. The hunters grip their spears. The mothers stop breathing. No one says a word. Because they all know the same terrifying truth. That tiny sound could kill every single person in the camp. The cry of a newborn could travel hundreds of meters through the cold night air, far enough for hungry wolves to hear it, far enough for giant hyenas to follow it, far enough for rival human tribes to discover exactly where they were hiding. One baby. One cry. One mistake. And by sunrise, an entire family could be gone. This wasn't fear. It was survival. Today, when a baby cries, parents worry about losing sleep. Back then, parents worried about losing everyone they loved. So here's the question history rarely asks. What did ancient humans actually do when a baby wouldn't stop crying? Did they already understand secrets of infant care thousands of years before science? Did entire tribes work together to keep newborns silent? Or were they forced to make horrifying choices that we've chosen to forget? Tonight, on Chronospecture History, we're uncovering the forgotten survival strategies of the world's first parents, and by the end of this story, you may never hear a crying baby the same way again. Let's go back to where the story of humanity almost ended with a single cry. If a baby's cry could bring danger to the entire tribe, how did prehistoric parents keep their children calm? The answer may surprise you. Because despite having no doctors, no parenting books, and no understanding of biology, ancient humans instinctively practiced techniques that modern science now recognizes as some of the most effective ways to soothe a newborn. Unlike today, babies were almost never left alone. From sunrise to sunset, they were carried, wrapped tightly against their mother's chest using soft animal hides or woven plant fibers. Newborns remained close enough to hear the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. The same heartbeat they had listened to for months before they were born. That familiar sound wasn't just comforting. It told the baby something incredibly important. You are safe. Every movement of the mother gently rocked the child. Every step created a slow, natural rhythm. Every breath, every heartbeat, every touch helped keep the baby calm. Thousands of years later, scientists would discover that constant physical contact helps regulate a baby's heart rate, body temperature, and even stress levels. But prehistoric parents didn't need laboratories to learn that lesson. Survival taught it to them. Mothers rarely carried the burden alone. In many early human communities, caring for a newborn was a responsibility shared by the entire group. Grandmothers, older sisters, fathers, and other trusted adults often helped hold, comfort, and protect infants while the tribe searched for food or prepared for another journey. A quiet baby wasn't just one family's responsibility. It was everyone's. Because every child represented the future of the tribe. The next hunter. The next gatherer. The next storyteller. The next generation that would carry humanity forward. And perhaps the most remarkable secret of all, ancient mothers didn't wait for a baby to cry before feeding them. Whenever food was available, babies were often breastfed frequently, reducing hunger before it became desperate. Without realizing it, prehistoric parents were preventing many crying episodes before they ever began. It was a simple strategy, but it may have saved countless lives. Yet even with all of these remarkable techniques, there were times when nothing worked. Some babies continued to cry for hours. And when that happened, fear quickly turned into desperation. In the next chapter, we'll explore the heartbreaking moments when ancient parents faced a problem that no amount of love, experience, or instinct could solve. For all the wisdom our ancestors had, there were nights when nothing worked. The baby had been fed, held close, rocked for hours, wrapped in warm animal hides, protected by the loving arms of an entire tribe. And still, the crying wouldn't stop. Today, a parent might drive to the nearest hospital or call a doctor for help. But 30,000 years ago, there was no one to call. No medicine to ease pain. No way to know whether the baby was suffering from hunger, illness, infection, or something no one could see. Every cry brought a new wave of fear. Not because the sound was annoying, but because it meant something could be terribly wrong. A simple fever, easily treated today, could become a death sentence. A stomach infection, a difficult birth, or even the freezing cold itself, could silently claim the life of a newborn. And the parents would never know why. Archaeologists believe that infant mortality in prehistoric societies was heartbreakingly high. Many children never reached their first birthday. Not because they weren't loved, but because the world they were born into was unimaginably unforgiving. Every morning, parents woke with one hope, that their child had survived another night. Imagine carrying your baby through endless forests, watching every breath, listening to every cry, knowing that love alone wasn't always enough. And yet, despite the constant danger, ancient parents refused to give up. When experience failed, they turned to something else. Something beyond survival. Beyond logic. Beyond science. They turned to belief. To rituals. To songs whispered into the darkness. To symbols they hoped would protect the smallest members of their tribe. Were these ancient rituals simply superstition? Or did they offer frightened parents something just as powerful? Hope? In the next chapter, we'll uncover the mysterious rituals and forgotten beliefs that ancient humans trusted when all else had failed. When love wasn't enough, and experience failed, ancient parents searched for answers in places beyond the physical world. Long before science could explain illness, or medicine could ease pain, almost every early human culture believed that unseen forces surrounded them. The forest wasn't just filled with animals. It was filled with spirits. The darkness wasn't simply the absence of light. It was a place where invisible powers were believed to exist. So when a healthy baby suddenly cried through the night, many parents didn't assume sickness. They feared something far more mysterious. Perhaps an angry spirit had entered the camp. Perhaps an ancestor was trying to send a warning. Or perhaps the child had somehow attracted the attention of forces no human could see. Whether these beliefs were true or not, they shaped the way prehistoric families cared for their children. Some parents gently covered their babies with the soft fur of powerful animals, believing their strength could offer protection. Others hung carefully carved bones, feathers, shells, or animal teeth near sleeping infants, objects thought to guard them against unseen dangers. As the fire crackled beneath the stars, soft voices filled the night. Not with conversation, but with rhythm. Simple melodies. Gentle humming. The earliest lullabies. These songs weren't only meant to comfort the baby. They also calmed frightened parents, giving them hope during nights filled with uncertainty. Even today, every culture on Earth has lullabies. Different words. Different languages. Yet the same purpose. To bring comfort in moments of fear. It's a tradition so ancient that its roots may reach back tens of thousands of years. Of course, these rituals couldn't cure infections. They couldn't stop disease. But they gave families something just as important. The strength to keep trying until morning came. And perhaps, that hope itself became one of humanity's greatest survival tools. Because no matter how terrifying the night became, ancient parents never stopped fighting for their children. But archaeology has uncovered something even more extraordinary. Evidence that prehistoric humans cared for their babies in ways far more advanced than anyone once believed. In the next chapter, we'll explore the astonishing discoveries hidden beneath ancient graves and caves, evidence that completely changed what scientists thought about the world's first families. For thousands of years, the story of the world's first parents remained buried beneath layers of earth. No written records. No diaries. No photographs. Only bones, fragments of stone, and silent graves waiting to be discovered. Then archaeologists began uncovering something extraordinary. Tiny skeletons, carefully buried beneath layers of soil. Not abandoned. Not forgotten. But laid to rest with remarkable care. Some infants were wrapped in red ochre, a natural pigment many prehistoric cultures used in burials. To archaeologists, it suggests these children were treated with respect and held deep meaning within their communities. Others were buried with small shells, animal teeth, or carefully crafted beads. Objects that served no practical purpose for survival. Yet someone had taken the time to place them beside a child who would never grow up. That simple act revealed something profound. Even in a world ruled by hunger, predators, and freezing winters, love still mattered. Some archaeological discoveries have also revealed tiny footprints preserved in ancient cave floors, small handprints pressed into soft clay, delicate fingerprints left on pieces of hardened earth. These aren't just traces of children. They're moments frozen in time. Evidence that families laughed, played, carried their babies, and lived lives far more emotional than we once imagined. For generations, many people pictured prehistoric humans as little more than brutal survivors. But the evidence tells a different story. They mourned their children. They cared for the weak. They protected their families. And they remembered those they lost. The first parents in human history weren't simply fighting to stay alive. They were building something even greater. The foundations of compassion. The foundations of family. The foundations of humanity itself. But one mystery still remains. If ancient parents loved their children so deeply, why do so many modern parenting instincts feel strangely familiar today? The answer lies inside our own biology. In the next chapter, we'll discover how evolution shaped the instincts that parents around the world still share, thousands of generations later. Thousands of years have passed, empires have risen and fallen. Civilizations have transformed the world. Technology has changed nearly every part of human life. Yet when a newborn begins to cry, something remarkable still happens. Without thinking, a parent instinctively picks the baby up. They hold the child close against their chest. They begin to rock back and forth. They hum a gentle melody. And somehow, the baby slowly begins to calm. Most parents believe these actions are learned. But scientists think many of them are much older than we ever imagined. These behaviors may have been shaped over hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution. Long before schools, long before books, long before anyone understood the word parenting. A baby's heartbeat slows when it's held close. Its body temperature becomes more stable. Stress hormones begin to decrease. The familiar rhythm of movement tells the infant something its brain understands immediately: you are safe. That message has echoed through countless generations. From prehistoric caves, to ancient villages, to modern homes. The tools have changed. The world has changed, but the bond between parent and child has remained almost exactly the same. It's one of the oldest relationships on Earth. Perhaps that's why a newborn's cry affects us so deeply. It's more than just a sound. It's an ancient survival signal, one that our ancestors heard around flickering campfires, and one we still respond to today. Every time a parent rushes to comfort a crying child, they're repeating an instinct that may be tens of thousands of years old. An instinct that helped our species survive impossible odds. But this story isn't only about babies. It's about something even greater, because without those first parents, without their courage, their patience, and their endless determination, none of us would be here today. In our final chapter, we'll uncover the extraordinary truth about the world's first parents, and why their greatest legacy isn't written in stone, but lives inside every human being alive today.
A single baby's cry. It may seem like the smallest sound in the world. But thousands of generations ago, that tiny voice carried the weight of humanity's future. Every newborn that survived was another chance for our species to continue. Every parent who stayed awake through the freezing night. Every mother who refused to give up. Every father who stood guard outside the firelight. Helped write the story of human survival. Our ancestors didn't have hospitals. They didn't have medicine. They didn't have written knowledge to guide them. What they had was each other. They learned through experience. They protected one another. They shared the burden of raising children. And above all, they never stopped adapting. That determination became humanity's greatest strength. Because survival wasn't won by the strongest hunter alone. It was won by families. By communities. By parents willing to sacrifice everything for the next generation. Today, when you hear a baby cry, you're listening to a sound that has echoed through hundreds of thousands of years of human history. The instinct to comfort that child. To pick them up. To hold them close. To protect them. Isn't just love. It's one of the oldest survival instincts our species has ever known. The same instinct that once kept tiny camps alive beneath Ice Age stars. Still lives inside us today. The world around us has changed beyond recognition. But the bond between a parent and child has remained almost timeless. Perhaps that's the greatest discovery of all. Not that ancient humans were different from us, but that they were astonishingly similar. They feared. They hoped. They grieved. They loved. Just as we do. And maybe the reason humanity survived wasn't because we were the fastest. Or the strongest. But because, even in the darkest nights, we chose to protect the smallest among us. This has been Chronospecture History, where every forgotten story reminds us that the past isn't as distant as it seems. Because a part of those first families still lives within every one of us. Until next time, keep exploring the stories that time almost erased. Imagine, just for a moment, that one prehistoric mother had given up. That one father had decided the risk was too great. That one tiny newborn never survived the night. History would have changed forever. Because every child who reached adulthood didn't just continue a family. They continued humanity itself. The people who crossed frozen rivers. Who survived brutal winters. Who discovered fire. Who painted the first caves. who eventually built the first villages, were all once helpless babies, crying in the arms of frightened parents. It's easy to think of history as kings, wars, empires, and great discoveries. But history didn't begin with civilizations. It began with families. With mothers refusing to let go. With fathers standing guard through endless nights. With grandparents sharing their knowledge. With entire tribes working together to keep one tiny life alive. Modern genetic research tells us that every person alive today shares ancestors who survived unimaginable hardships over thousands of generations. Each generation depended on the one before it. Every newborn carried forward countless thousands of years of survival. Which means, your story, my story, everyone's story, can be traced back to parents who faced nights just like these. Cold, dark, uncertain, yet filled with hope. Perhaps that's why the cry of a baby still captures our attention so instantly. Deep inside our brains, it awakens instincts shaped long before recorded history. Instincts that helped our species survive against impossible odds. And those instincts have never truly disappeared. Because while the world around us changed, human nature remained remarkably constant. But one final question still remains. What is the greatest lesson these ancient parents left behind for all of humanity? The answer may be far more inspiring than anyone expected. In our final chapter, we'll uncover the extraordinary legacy of the world's first parents, and why their greatest achievement wasn't simply surviving, but ensuring that we could exist at all. The fire has almost burned out. The predators have disappeared into the darkness. And somewhere, the tiny baby who cried through the longest night has finally fallen asleep. By morning, the tribe begins to move again. Hunters gather their spears. Mothers wrap their children in warm animal hides. The journey continues. Just another ordinary day. In an extraordinary world. But what those ancient parents could never have imagined was that their greatest achievement wasn't surviving one more night. It was creating the future. Every child they protected. Every newborn they carried across frozen rivers. Every life they refused to abandon became another link in an unbroken chain stretching across tens of thousands of years. That chain has never been broken. It passed through countless generations. Across ice ages. Across deserts. Across oceans. Through the rise of civilizations. The fall of empires. The invention of writing. The discovery of medicine. And eventually, to us. Every person watching this video is living proof that somewhere in the distant past, someone chose to protect a crying child. Someone stayed awake beside a fading fire. Someone carried hope through a world filled with uncertainty. Without their courage, without their patience, without their love, none of us would be here. Archaeology gives us bones. Ancient caves give us footprints. Stone tools reveal how our ancestors hunted. But none of those discoveries tell the complete story. The greatest evidence they ever left behind isn't buried beneath the earth. It's alive. In every heartbeat. In every family. In every parent who instinctively reaches for a crying baby. Some instincts are older than language. Older than civilization. Perhaps even older than history itself. And maybe that's the most extraordinary truth of all. The first parents weren't heroes because they conquered kingdoms. They became heroes because they protected the smallest, weakest members of their tribe. Night after night. Generation after generation. And through those quiet acts of love, humanity survived. So the next time you hear a baby cry, remember, you're listening to a sound that has echoed through hundreds of thousands of years. A sound that once determined whether an entire family, or even an entire bloodline, would see another sunrise. Thank you for joining us on this journey into humanity's distant past. If you enjoyed uncovering the forgotten stories hidden beneath time, subscribe to Chronospecture History, where every discovery reminds us that the past isn't dead. It's still living inside every one of us. Until next time, keep exploring the stories that time almost erased.